you looking for an ultra adjustable, lightweight utility bike for your urban adventure? Well, look no further than the Vvolt Slice Lite. But before we talk any more about it, let's take a closer look. Hey everyone, I am JT from Ebike Escape, and in today's review, we're going to take a in-depth and thorough look through everything the Vvolt Slice Lite has to offer. The way we're going to do that, starting out, we're going to go through all of the components that make up the bike, give you an up-close look at everything. Then we're going to go and put it to the test on some flat neighborhood roads, show you how the bike pedals and how it just generally rides. Then we're going to put the motor to the test up our hill climb test, so you can carry me, a 225-pound rider, up our very steep test hill. And then after that, we're going to do a nice, easy summary of reasons you should and should not maybe look at purchasing a Vvolt Slice Lite of your own. Now, on the subject of purchasing, if you do decide after this review that you want to purchase your own Vvolt Slice Lite, or you want to look at some other models, maybe purchase one, please consider doing so after clicking any of the links down in the description. That is a free and easy way to help support us here at Ebike Escape. Thank you guys so much in advance. And if you aren't at the place that you're looking to purchase an e-bike, please consider subscribing to our channel. That is another easy way to show us support and really get us connected with some awesome brands like Vvolt here. Now, the Slice Lite is being offered from Vvolt for $19.99. Now, that price and everything does fluctuate, as well as what accessories they include. Currently, the accessory they're offering with all Slice Lite purchases is going to be this really cool, almost modular front basket. We'll take a closer look at that here in a minute. They put a lot of emphasis and thought into their designs of their e-bikes, and they tend to put together a bunch of components on bikes that we don't typically see and offer them at really great prices. One of our favorite e-bikes from them, and most notable to us, is going to be the Centauri model, but then they also offer the Alpha model, and now they've stepped into the world of cargo/utility bikes, as I do like some of the design and componentry that they picked out for the Slice Lite here. Now, back to some more specifics about the Slice Lite. This bike comes in at weighing just 52 pounds, pretty light and easy to operate. You can even get that weight down a little bit more if you remove that battery. It also has a cargo capacity of 400 pounds. That is total capacity being cargo and rider. And something I said in that intro is that this bike is listed as being ultra adjustable, and that holds true, being that the height range goes from 4'9" all the way up to 6'4". One of the ways it's able to achieve that is going to be this adjustable stem where you can tune the cockpit, as well as by having a very high and long seat tube. So here's what a 5'7" rider with a 29-inch inseam look like on the Slice Lite. Very comfortable bike, very easy to pedal, and I really like when you can adjust the cockpit here. Now, the Slice Lite is also offered in two colorways. We have the Twilight, which is kind of this purple version that we have here, as well as an overcast version, which is kind of a white or maybe an off-white kind of gray. Let's bring you in close and talk about some of the components that make up the Slice Lite. Now, one thing that I hope comes out as we run through all the componentry of this bike is that they use name brand components and really smart design choices throughout their entire bike. That is going to be thanks to the years of actual bike industry experience that some of the people that run Vvolt as a company have under their belt. So starting on the outside here, we have one of the more interesting design choices, and that's going to be in the wheel and tire package. In the front here, we have a 20 by 3-inch Innova tire, and in the rear, we jump up to a 24 by 3-inch Innova rear tire. We have the same tread pattern, both front and rear. And the thought for that is that you keep the front a little bit lower so that you can add your weight and have a really nice robust front basket and keep the weight and center of gravity nice and low. Hopefully distribute that weight a little bit better front to back on the bike. Then as we move our way in, we have a Novatech hub, which is a higher quality sealed bearing hub that we don't typically see. We have Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, can help get your bike slowed down. Tektro 180 millimeter front rotor. And then for the keen-eyed among you may even realize that we have a through axle, very nice and easy for taking your wheel on and off. Hidden over here on the top, gonna be a little hard to see, is we have metal fenders, both front and rear. For this front fork is a rigid front fork. And here is a look at the front basket. Now, the core of this front basket is a really nice metal cage that you bolt kind of this guarded shield around the outside, which has all these nice, really fun cutouts. Gives you a lot of interesting mounting options here. What I've chosen to do is actually on the back of the basket here, I've chosen to mount our bike case ABC cages. You have the standard front mount and then the Sidewinder mount one over here on this side. We get really nice bottle cage mounts here. As this frame simply lacks them because of the battery integration, there are two here if maybe you wanted to mount a lock or you didn't mind having it between your legs or you weren't running a large water bottle, you could do that. On the back up here on the front, the basic core of this basket is this really nice metal cage. And then you have this adjustable bar here, which you loosen these knobs on the sides here. You can actually pull this back to actually lock your cargo in or give you different mounting options here. Nice to see a high adjustable basket. And then on the front of the basket here, we have the headlight, which is typically mounted on the front head tube. But when you install the basket, they move it here to the front. Very nice, bright LED headlight here. I'll put some nighttime pictures for you on the screen now. And this is part of Vvolt's 360-degree view, so you're able to be seen all times of the day. And here's a look at this really nice taillight, which is on the bottom of the seat tube. This, unfortunately, is not a brake light, as when you pull the brakes, it does not illuminate, but I will be sure to put a picture on the screen of what this looks like at night as well, show you how good that visibility is. And as we are working our way up from the fork here towards the cockpit, we have a charging port here on the side, nice rubber plug, as well as some Slice branding there around it. The battery can be charged both on or off the bike. We'll be sure to remove and show you that here in just a minute. Then as we work our way up the head tube, we have some nice Vvolt branding there on the front of the head tube. We have some nicely wrapped wires. I actually went ahead and wrapped this to this basket here to stop the wires from rattling. But here's a look at the wiring itself. And as I hinted at before, we have this very nice adjustable stem. It's just nice to see these included. And the way you adjust this, you push up on this button here and then pull out on this. And then once you have that lever up, you can actually twist your handlebars to whichever angle you want, as well as grab here and adjust them forward and back for you. Go ahead and lock them in place right here. Starting over here on the right, we have a non-locking rubber grip, a matching Tektro hydraulic disc brake lever. And then something we don't typically see on Vvolt bikes is actually going to be the inclusion of a throttle, which makes this bike a Class 2 bike. However, they say that this throttle is easily unpluggable, which is going to be via this plug here, which then would make this a Class 1 e-bike. So if you ride in a place that has certain restrictions, you have that nice ability. These handlebars also should be called out because they have a nice swoop back feel, puts you in a very nice upright riding position. We have the Anata D16 LCD color display, which we'll talk about more here in a minute, and in the shade. And then on the left-hand side, we have our buttons and a nice rubber grip. And as well, this is also gonna be your first hint that this is a single-speed bike, which is kind of why I feel this bike is maybe meant for more of an urban adventure. Now let's go ahead and push this bike into the shade so we can see that display a little bit better. All right, now that we're in the shade, let's go ahead and talk about the display. In direct sunlight, they're a little difficult to see and they are very hard to get to show up on camera, so we do have to push into the shade. You can still see them when you're out riding, as long as you don't have maybe polarized sunglasses or something like that on. That's a problem I run into. So on the left-hand side over here, you have your rubber button display. On the top, we have our headlight, button for turning on and off headlights, plus button, minus button. Middle here, we have our power or /M button. And then on the bottom here, we have walk mode for if you want just a little boost of power, maybe to help push your bike around. So to turn your bike on, you're gonna hold that middle power button. Your display is gonna turn on. You get greeted with this really nice Vvolt logo. Nice thing about the display, everything is very big and easy to see. Starting in the upper left, we have our battery, which is broken up into bars. In order to turn the headlights on, you simply tap the power button, turns them on and off. And if you actually hold the button, and then once you get it to this A mode, you actually get an auto mode where there's a photo light sensor on the back for turning the headlights automatically on or off. Then nice front center, we have our speed. Then we have our odometer here, which can be changed. And also the colors around the outside are associated with pedal assist level. We have off, but then again, we have eco, tour, sport, turbo, and boost. Boost is going to be your most power. If you notice here, this bar on the side here fills and decreases as you go up and down your pedal assist levels. And then if you push the power or M button in the middle, you'll notice that our odometer just changed. Now we are on trip, max speed, motor power, human power, range, which does adjust via which pedal assist level you're in. So if you go all the way up to turbo, that number will drop. We have our cadence, that is the current cadence that you're putting in via your legs, and then back to odometer. And then if you wanted to say, hey, that menu, there was too many options in there, I really just want my cadence and motor power, you push the plus and minus button, will put you into this menu here. You have information, settings, and reset trip. You want to maybe reset your odometer, go into settings here. All the various accoutrements that we typically see in a very nicely spec'd display, but the biggest one that I like to highlight for everybody is going to be this available function, or maybe even your set password. You can set a password for turning on and off your bike, and the available function is going to be the menus that you can scroll through. So again, we have max speed on. We could turn on maybe a trip time, average speed, turn off maybe rider power, and we'll leave our range, cadence, and stuff like that on. And you go back here at the bottom, and that locks them in. But you also have things like Bluetooth factory reset, You could turn the USB port on the side here. There is a very nice USB-A port on the side of the display here, which has this really nice rubber plug for keeping dirt and debris out of it. Now, one thing that you will notice is missing from this, and that's going to be your ability to override your bike. Now, that is a locked function on this bike, and it does hold true to being a Class 1 or Class 2 e-bike, means your top speed is limited to 20 miles per hour, regardless of whether you are on throttle or pedal alone. As we move down from the display, the next electronic device I believe we should talk about is probably going to be the battery. So in order to remove the battery, you're going to utilize your keys. They're going to go in over here on the driver's side. And you're going to put the keys in, and the battery is going to pop up. And then with the keys twisted all the way towards the front of the bike, you pull the battery up and then slide it up and out. It's a nice integrated battery here. Here's our first look at the battery. This is a 36 volt, 504 watt hour battery. On the front of the battery here, it has a nice LED illuminated display that illuminates a color that correlates to the battery charge voltage. As well as here on the bottom, we have the charging port for if you want to charge the battery both on or off the bike. Again, one charging port here, one charging port on the bottom of the battery. And if you're somebody that's going to be maybe traveling around with your battery, or you want a little bit extra protection for your battery, maybe if it's in your apartment or something like that, we always recommend our bike case battery bags. This is the small, and this battery is going to fit in here perfectly. It simply gets slid in, and then you simply roll down the top and buckle it like a little dry bag here. And now you have a flame resistant battery protection bag. You can also Velcro in place. Really nice high quality product. We offer quite a few of these on our shop.ebikescape.com store. And then to put the battery back in, simply line up those metal tabs and stuff on the bottom, get it all set in there, and then you simply hold the battery down and twist the keys again towards the back of the bike. That'll re-engage the lock mechanism, give the battery a nice tug, and your battery is now in your bike. And when you talk about the battery, you have to talk about the range. Now, this bike comes outfitted with a torque sensor, so even though it is a single speed and you may find yourself using the throttle a little bit more, thanks to that ability to measure and quickly adjust the power you're getting, this bike should be able to achieve ranges between 20 and 50 miles. Again, going to be dependent on how much you're actually pedaling and what type of terrain you're riding on. While talking about pedaling, we have these pretty nice metal Welgo pedals. And then below that, we have this really nice, robust aluminum kickstand here, which is a cargo style stand. So what that means is it picks up the rear wheel, which makes it really nice for loading and unloading cargo. Then as we come back down the bike, you have the motor wiring here. And then on the back of the frame here, you have these two bottom bolts, which are actually going to be for if you have to add tension to your belt. And then you have these really nice cutouts, maybe help you just kind of add or customize the bike as you would see fit. And then as we come around, here's where we get a look at the motor. This is listed as a 350 watt rear motor that peaks somewhere close to 550 watts. And on the subject of throttle, I realized when I was up in the cockpit, I forgot to mention that throttle is actually limited to 80% total power. So what that means is that when you're using the throttle, regardless of which pedal assist level you're in, you're only going to get 80% of the total motor power. And in order to get that little bit extra, you actually have to pedal, which is going to give you access to that 500, 550 watts. And you're limited to about at 80%, about 430 watts of power. Then as we come back in, here's a look at the rear gearing and that Gates Carbon CDX belt drive. If you're an avid cyclist, you really like some of the capabilities of a belt drive. It tends to be a lot quieter, a lot less mess, and doesn't require as much maintenance or grease rather. The rear gearing is a 22 tooth, and the front gearing we'll actually go ahead and put on the screen now. We have a matching Welgo pedal on this side, and then if you come up, you already got a little bit of a look at that rear light. And then to actually adjust the seats, you actually have a rubber cover here that you pull off, and that gives you access to the Allen bolt to adjust the seat tube height. And then we have this black unbranded seat. It's actually a very cushiony seat, very soft. I don't have any complaints. It is on the thin side, but it is a very comfy seat. And with the seat out of the way, that pretty much wraps up the components. So how is this bike to pedal, and how does it fare up our hill climb test? Let's find out. Start out the riding portion, I thought it might be nice to talk about just the overall riding characteristics of this bike. So how does it ride? First of all, seating position, very comfortable. It is a fairly slim seat, so you do have to be kind of used to that. The handlebars being adjustable, love that you can adjust and tune the cockpit, and the handlebars having that nice sweep puts you in a really relaxed, upright kind of riding position. And then as far as pedaling goes, we'll talk more about this in a minute, but the gearing on this takes a little bit to get off the line. I do find myself using the throttle, but overall, it's not a terrible gearing. Just takes a little bit of extra leg pressure maybe to get started and off the line. So
We're gonna go ahead and turn off the pedal assist here. Now that I've gone ahead and kicked this into off, you do no longer have access to the throttle. So you do have to be in a pedal assist level to have access to the throttle. I also have this really nice cadence sensor up here so that I can tell what my actual cadence is through the pedals. So right now I'm gonna keep it throughout most of the riding as this is a torque sensor, somewhere to around that 38 to 40 range, just kind of see what speeds I can achieve with that. So right now, easy cadence, obviously already moving, somewhere in the 9 to 10 mile an hour range. Pretty easy to maintain. Let's go ahead and kick it up. So first pedal assist level is gonna be Eco. And I felt a little bit of assistance there, took a little bit of pressure off my legs. If we use the power button or M button in the middle, we can actually get to M power and see how many watts the motor is giving us. So as of right now, we're getting about 50 watts. Now I do know after riding this bike for a little bit, if I put in a lot more pressure, the torque sensor is gonna amp up the power. It gets me up to about 100, 110. And then every pedal assist level that you go up from there, it's gonna give you about 100 more watts. And then when you're keeping about that 40 to 50 cadence, every pedal assist level you go up, you're gonna get about 50 more watts. So in practice, go ahead and cross the street. No front suspension on this bike again, so a little jarring coming across some of the big bumps, but overall not terrible. So here we go kick it up now to touring and see the motor power now, keeping that nice easy cadence. We're getting about 120, watts of power there, getting up to about 12 miles an hour pretty easily. And if I, again, provide a lot more power, the speed will go up because that torque sensor is going to amplify the amount of power I'm putting in. Go ahead and back it down. But at a nice easy cadence, looks like we're at about 12, 13 miles an hour. Kick it up to sport now. We get about 190 watts. And again, 13, right into that 12 to 13, but not a lot of pressure on my legs. And so what we're finding now is we're at about the limit of what pedaling at a normal cadence will get you to speed-wise. What I found on this bike while riding is that when we kick it up now to turbo, again, 13, 14, I can't really provide much cadence. The cadence on my legs is pretty fast, so I really can't provide much more power at this easy cadence. I really have to kick up my cadence to go to a faster speed. So I'm right now getting 330 watts, doing 17 miles an hour, 18, and it'll go all the way up depending on how fast, how wicked witch of the west per se I want to get with my legs. It'll get to that 20 mile an hour top speed. This bike is a hard class 2 bike, so it means that you have access to the throttle and pedal assist power up to 20 miles an hour, but it will not take you past that. All right, now we're pedaling the other direction on the trail here. We're gonna kick it up to boost. I'm gonna come to a stop here, and I'm just gonna show you how quickly, if you're pedaling, this bike can get up to that 20 mile an hour speed. I think we're gonna have access to about 500 watts of power. So here we go. Getting a little pressure to get off the line. Takes a second for this sensor to kick in. And then when it does, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and the GPS and the display are pretty in line. There we go, 20 miles an hour. And again, if you can see my legs here on camera, or just see how much it's shaking, there is a good cadence here. Let's see, what cadence do we need? So I'm about an 80 cadence with not a lot of pressure. So it is kind of ghost pedaling past about 14, 15 miles an hour. So this bike cruises very nicely with pedaling in all pedal assist levels up to like that 13, 14 mile an hour point. And then if you want to go past that, you can either by using the throttle or by simply pedaling a lot faster. Now on the subject of the throttle though, you can tell that this bike is definitely meant for intercity commuting and it's not really meant for high speeds. And why do I say that? Well, this throttle, you have access to the throttle when in any pedal assist level, but you only get 80% of the available power. So to show you that right now, I'm holding the throttle and I'm on the M power here, getting the motor power coming out of the motor, and I'm getting about 400, somewhere between 415 to 420 watts of power. And if you do the math, that is 20% less than the 500 I was getting when I was pedaling. So again, 80% of the power accessed while on throttle. Now, this bike, even though you only get 80%, will still get you up to 19. I've seen 20 a couple times there, miles per hour. I'm actually riding into a little bit of a headwind. But see, there you go. It'll get you up to 20 miles an hour. It's just not going to get you there as fast as possible. Pedaling is what's going to get you there as fast as possible. And again, you do have to be in a pedal assist level to even have access to the throttle. So that's how this bike rides on flat ground. Let's go ahead and throw it to the hill climb test and see how this bike performs up our hill. All right, here we are at the hill climb test for the Sliced Lite, the Vvolt Slice Lite. Go ahead and throw the specs for the hill on the screen now. This is the hill I personally test all of the bikes that I review on our channel on. All right, so first time up, we're gonna do it under throttle power alone, and then I will come back down and do it under pedaling. Now, I do not have high hopes for this bike making it up this hill. We are already down to 7, 8 miles an hour. When the bike gets to say 2 or 3 miles an hour is a bit to keep up, I will probably call it out. And the reason I don't think it's gonna make it up is because, again, we're only getting 80% of the bike's power out of the throttle. So here we are, 2, 3 miles an hour. And again, I could keep it at this and probably balance it most of the way up, but it does get steeper a little bit of the ways up. So yeah, we're gonna call this, the bike does not make it up under throttle power alone up our hill climb test. And that's gonna be because it has a little bit smaller of a motor. It does peak in the 500, 550 range. But yeah, it just doesn't have the power. So here we go. Back on the way back down, I do want to test out these brakes though. Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. There we go. Slowed me down pretty nicely there. I have no complaints out of these brakes. We've seen these brakes on quite a few bikes at this point, and I know how they're going to perform. They are great brakes. They're going to stand the test of time. These are even some brakes that I've seen equipped on some mountain bikes. But yeah, Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, always nice to see. And I don't know if I called it out before, but no motor cutoffs on these brakes. And that's because we do have a torque sensor. So as soon as you stop pedaling, the motor cuts power. All right, now this time up, I'm going to turn down the pedal assist. We're going to start in eco. Now, no gear shift. So it's very nice. I can just kind of pedal into here. I am going to switch to cadence. I'm going to try and maintain the same cadence the whole way up here. Sorry, passed it. Got to take off my sunglasses so I can see downfall of that color display. So here we go. 27, 26. It's getting pretty hard to keep that cadence up. I'd like to be somewhere up around like 30 or 40. There we go, 20. Shifting it up to tour. Pedal assist made it a little bit easier, but still putting in a decent amount of work. Switch it up to sport and still keeping that cadence. 7, 8 miles an hour. Still good amount of effort here. Turbo 28. There we go. Getting a little bit of relief here, but still 7, 8 miles an hour. And kicking it up to boost 30 on my cadence. It's a pretty easy, it's a very slow cadence, but because of that single speed in this hill, man, it's a decent amount of effort here just to maintain 8, 9 miles an hour. Now, we knew that was going to be the case with this single speed belt drive bike, but for urban commuting or in places that are kind of flat and maybe don't have a 10% hill there, this bike does have a lot of nice features that'll make it stand out from some of the other bikes in this space. So let's go ahead and throw it to the concluding thoughts, where we can go over what those are and give you some reasons you should and should not consider the Vvolt Slice Lite.
To most of you out there, Vvolt is not a new brand, but to some of you, it may not be the case. Being a smaller company and only having a few models, they can easily fly under most people's radars. Ryan and I are fans of Vvolt e-bikes, as they were really one of the first brands to bring the trifecta of componentry to the more affordable end of the market. And for clarity, the trifecta is an e-bike that sports a mid-drive motor, Gates carbon belt drive, and an internally geared hub. Now, while the Slice Lite doesn't sport the trifecta, it does still have some unique and smart design choices that help it stand out from the crowd of e-bikes. But given its $19.99 price point, can it really compete with the competition? Well, let's quickly go through what the Slice Lite does right and where it falls a bit short. Out of the box, the Slice Lite is easy to assemble, though the front rack did take some time, mostly because you have to reposition that front headlight. Vvolt is not a 1-2 step easy assembly like some manufacturers, but assembly feels very IKEA-like and less guessing game. Keeping with thoughtful design, the wheels are a reverse mullet, meaning that you get a smaller 20-inch wheel in the front and a 24-inch wheel in the rear. This is done to give you a lower center of gravity, important for carrying cargo, especially in that front basket. The front basket is modular and accents the custom frame design nicely, and then both give you the ability to customize and fit this urban utility bike to your needs. Speaking of the frame, the Slice Lite keeps the accessibility and comfortable fit in mind, with a lower frame standover height and its ability to be adjusted to fit riders all the way down from 4'9" up to 6'4". which is a much larger range than we typically see. And this is thanks in part to its very tall seat post and its pre-installed adjustable stem. And the Slice Lite is able to have all of this adjustability while maintaining a low overall weight of just 52 pounds and maintaining a payload capacity of 400 pounds. And if you happen to be adjusting the seat, you will of course be able to see the 270-degree visible integrated rear taillight. And the Slice Lite has a claimed 360-degree view, so in the front you get a very wide range integrated LED front headlight. And both lights also take advantage of the auto on-off light sensor that the full color LCD display has built in. Pedaling the Slice Lite from a stop, you're quickly reminded this is a single-speed drivetrain. But this is because you get that lower maintenance, less mess, and longer lifespan of the Gates carbon belt drive, which receives its power not only from your legs, but also from the 350 watt nominal 550 watt peak rear motor. Now this is where I hit a bit of a fork in the road, because while the motor did fail to make it up our hill climb test on throttle alone in a flatter urban setting, the bike would be right at home. And this bike certainly prioritizes being lighter rather than having a beefy motor. And given Vvolt's Portland origin, that makes sense. But for the Wisconsin rolling hills that our tests subject these bikes to, it did leave a bit to be desired, even when pedaling. And as we saw in our riding tests, even when on flat ground and trying to get to a 20 mile per hour speed, you do have to spin your legs quite fast. Vvolt said that this was done to strike a nice balance between overall speed and climbing ability. The urban design also then flows into the battery choice, being just a 36 volt 14 amp hour battery. At this price point, we typically see 48 volt 20 amp hour batteries. However, the range estimate is 20 to 55 miles, which of course depends on how much throttle to pedaling ratio you are using. And speaking of throttle, it is also limited to just 80% of the total power. So while it will help you get off the line, in order to reach the full wattage output capabilities of the motor, you will need to be pedaling. Vvolt has also hinted that the upcoming release of the Pi model will feature numerous improvements over the Slice Lite, so be sure to keep an eye on their website for updates on that. The link is also down below. If you do decide to make a purchase through that link, we receive a bit of support from the company. Thank you guys so much in advance for your support. So overall, if you live in a flatter urban environment and need a customizable ride for hauling, the Slice Lite has you covered. But for those who need to conquer hills, maybe check out Vvolt Centauri SE lineup. So what do you think of the belt drive urban commuter segment? Is there a better one available? Let us know in the comments down below. Remember everyone to ride safe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.